did I realize that I was basically going to become a billionaire because of my Facebook stock? I quit. And the craziest thing about it is I left so much stock on the table. It's like $2-3 billion of stock. I couldn't care less. I got exceptionally lucky, okay? Am I proud of it? Yeah. Is that number inaccurate? Yeah, it's actually much, much better than that, okay?
Fake it till you make it. And Chamath has definitely made it. Chamath Palihapitiya has made a living off of financial investments, skyrocketing his net worth to a stunning $2.1 billion. But underneath his piles of money lies all the people that he had to step over and scam to get to where he is now. In this video, we'll be studying the charismatic Chamath, talking about the financial throne that he's built for himself, and finally answering whether or not Chamath Palihapitiya is a fake genius. Who is Chamath? Chamath Palihapitiya is a Canadian-American venture capitalist and current acting CEO of Social Capital. Born on September 3, 1976 in Sri Lanka, Chamath immigrated to Canada with his family at a young age, and ever since then, he's been making moves. Chamath's life growing up wasn't as glamorous as it is right now. In fact, it was quite the opposite, with his father moving from job to job and his mother working as a minimum wage housekeeper. There was nothing much he could do, so he aspired to be better, leveraging his electrical engineering degree and shifting to the tech industry, where he soon found a home in Facebook, where he would begin close work with Mark Zuckerberg himself. But Facebook was just a stepping stone for him. Since his departure from Facebook, he had begun making a name for himself as one of the greatest investors, catching and investing in companies before they went big. Oftentimes, he would brag about how he caught huge companies such as Amazon, Tesla, Slack, and even the Golden State Warriors right before they went big. All this earned him the respect of the financial world. But he wasn't just some rich guy. He was also dependable. His image was of someone you could trust, stating that he was different from all the hungry Wall Street wolves that preyed on the poor. He would also start advocating for sustainability efforts such as climate change, further separating himself from the greedy pack. But the nice guy act wouldn't last long, as he would soon become the SPAC king. What the SPAC? Going public as a company is a tedious process, taking into account all the hoops that a company has to jump through to simply qualify for their initial public offering is already enough to discourage them from going public altogether. This is where SPAC, or SPAC, comes in. Special Purpose Acquisition Companies, SPACs for short, are what's known as blank check companies. Sounds sketchy? Oh, don't worry, it gets worse. SPACs are basically shell companies that can merge with other existing companies, allowing these SPACs to go public in their stead. If this is too complicated, just imagine someone standing in line for you at the McDonald's while you stay in the car. Each SPAC is represented by a sponsor that raises money from investors all over in order to partner up and acquire businesses. Because of the amount of money needed to make an initial investment in SPAC, the sponsors heading the SPACs have to be trustworthy and knowledgeable in their field, both of which apply to Chamath. Chamath is what many called the king of SPACs. Whether that's good or bad is up to you. This is because Chamath caught SPACs as it was getting popular, specifically around the COVID era of 2019, when everyone was curious about investing and looking into easy ways to generate passive income. At the time, the market was still quite volatile as it stumbled through the pandemic, but idle minds generated bad ideas and more people gave in to Chamath's sales. And it's because of Chamath's charming personality that people soon found out that he was nothing but a pump and dump investor. The pump. Pumping is the act of artificially inflating a stock's market price by getting more people to buy their shares. One such example of pumping was when Redditors almost brought down the US economy by buying into GameStop stocks. But that's a story for another time. At the time, in 2019, Chamath was coming from a golden age of investing. He was flexing his portfolio of companies and would often leverage this when selling SPACs. Chamath was so adamant on pushing his SPAC investments that he would even attend TV interviews on platforms such as Bloomberg and even daytime news. Chamath was in charge of multiple SPACs, but there were 4 notorious SPACs that he would peddle the most. The first being Virgin Galactic, codenamed IPO-A. Virgin Galactic was part of the Virgin Group that primarily dealt with space travel, following on the coattails of Elon Musk's SpaceX program. Chamath promised potential buyers that this company was going to be the future, emphasizing that any investments towards the company were safe and almost guaranteed profits.
$500,000 in cash.
The second company, Open Door Technologies, codenamed IPO-B, was supposed to be the next big thing for the housing market. Chamath sold the company as an up-and-coming industry leader that was going to revolutionize the housing market, nicknaming the company as the next Amazon of housing. The third company, SoFi Technologies, codenamed IPO-C, is a fintech company. This was another promised industry leader by Chamath, spewing buzzwords like safe, profitable, and vouching for the company with his years of experience. And finally, the fourth and probably most infamous company would be Clover Health, codenamed IPO-D. Chamath claimed that Clover Health was going to transform and revolutionize healthcare through their new software called Clover Assistant. Chamath also argued the obvious fact that everyone needed healthcare, meaning there wouldn't be a shortage of profit for the company. According to Chamath, the company was already projected to make billions in just a few years. All exciting prospects for investment, especially when Chamath himself vouched for their profitability. Sadly, this would not prove true in the coming years. The dump. Dumping in investments means the act of selling most or all of your shares in a company, effectively exchanging your stake in the company for money. Chamath promised everyone that in a few years, the companies that he has marketed will return millions of dollars to its investors, a promise that was grossly miscalculated.
He can't keep getting away with it!
The first company, Virgin Galactic, saw its stocks plummet by a little over 79%, operating at a huge loss per year since Chamath's endorsement. The second company, Open Door, dropped to 70% as well, with no proper presence in its own industry. The third company, SoFi Technologies, saw a smaller but still substantial drop of 60%. And lastly, the fourth company, Clover Health, had the biggest plummet. Clover Health's market share price dropped by 91% just a few years after Chamath's endorsement. At a glance, there seemed to be only one major explanation. Chamath was actually an idiot. It could be so easy to reason out that Chamath's profile was actually a fluke built on lucky guesses, and that he too was a victim of the major SPACs he's endorsed throughout the years. Clover Health in particular was quite alarming, especially considering that the company was nothing like the tech healthcare leader Chamath was hyping it up to be. Clover Health was, in reality, just a small business with big dreams. Dreams that were being actively investigated by the Department of Justice due to shady business practices like faulty marketing. Of course, you could say that Chamath was just another victim of their misleading marketing schemes, but Clover has come out to say that Chamath was fully aware of these. As it turns out, Chamath was lying through his teeth. Chamath had been pumping the stock price of these companies up while secretly owning shares prior to the price increase. This meant that Chamath's $25,000 initial investment on these small companies grew to be as high as $290 million, and you better believe he cashed out immediately. And now that we know this, there's only one thing left: the verdict. Chamath Palihapitiya has never failed to let everyone know that his seal of approval guarantees profitability. Whenever he sold his SPACs, he made sure to emphasize that he thoroughly studied each company before giving it his seal of approval. But even after all that studying, even after all the financial projections and industry studies he's done, the companies he's vouched for have still ended up in the gutter, and with them, every investor's hard-earned cash. But while Chamath's predictions were so embarrassingly wrong, Chamath attributes these investment failures to market volatility. Chamath has gone on to address the claims of him pumping and dumping, saying that the failed investors of his SPAC simply failed to see ahead of the curve, a curve that he saw and reacted to in an instant. But at the end of the day, whether or not he really is a genius, he's still come out on top with money in his pocket, and to Chamath, that's all that matters.